The Fertile Mind, The First Seed. Tony Rose. Text copyright Tony Rose 2024. The moral rights of the author have been asserted. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced by any mechanical, photographical, or electronic process, or in the form of a phonographic recording, nor may it be stored in a retrieval system, transmitted, or otherwise be copied for public or private use, other than for fair use, as brief quotations embodied in articles and reviews without prior written permission of the publisher. The information given in this book should not be treated as a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult a medical practitioner. Any use of information in this book is at the reader's discretion and risk. Neither the author nor the publisher can be held responsible for any loss, claim, or damage arising out of the use or misuse of the suggestions made, the failure to take medical advice, or for any material on third-party websites. Thank you. To my beautiful mother Louisa, I use words to create pictures, but it's been challenging for me to detail my gratitude for you, and I don't have enough time to try and do so. You are the womb man of my life, the fertile soil that allowed me to be planted into heaven on earth. Physically, you have provided me more than you will ever know or remember, and it is because of you that I was afforded the time to work on myself, so that I could be in the space to share these experiences. There were times that I wanted and expected a different kind of love from you, but I would always remind myself that you were doing your best to express your love for me in the only way you knew how, and by doing so, you had been playing your role perfectly. Leaving blanks in the story of our relationship encouraged me to learn how to fill in those blanks for myself, and for that, I thank you. I will always cherish the time that we've had and still have left together because you're my favorite mother. You have and deserve my eternal gratitude because without you, I would not be here now. I thank you and I love you. For the curious, if you follow the breadcrumbs, they will lead you back home. Preface. The entire collection of the Fertile Mind series are only an expression of myself and my experience. I am the ultimate creator, and if I am, then you are, which only means everyone that creates is the ultimate artist. As we know, art is never finished, it is only released. So at the point of releasing this work, I felt that there was no way that I could have made this any better. We tend to look back at our artwork from the past with a fresh perspective and see new ways to approach that piece of art. We see how to make it quote-unquote better or quote-unquote different, but this would imply that we have assumed the role of the judge and are now judging our previous level of perception. With our own evolution through life, experience, and sharpened skills, we would have acquired more time, knowledge, and wisdom practicing our medium. So I can only suggest that we look back at our previous work as only younger evolutions of ourselves, and not a less skilled, less talented, or less experienced artists than we currently are. This work is an attempt to have a conversation between family. I extend your invitation to remind you that you are an integral part of this cosmic family. In Genesis, these stories and examples could be portrayed as heavy and negative because they may seem, sound, and feel uncomfortable. In Revelation, we will find that bringing these memories to light and developing them from my negative film role, we will have illuminated and liberated the collective consciousness. This occurs because you shape and mold your experience into beautiful pieces of art, which you can then exhibit to transform the lives of those that come into contact with it. This will create a unique museum with the works of your life on display, which will reflect a beacon of light that others can use to help them navigate the waters of this world. Although the Fertile Mind series will mention God, the Bible, and share interpretations of Scripture, I do not want, need, or expect you to be a religious or spiritual person to relate, resonate, and or receive wisdom from this conversation. I would encourage you not to take my word as gospel, new thought, or the truth, but only be open-minded to it, taking what resonates with you and discarding the rest. Within the Fertile Mind series, you will explore how you are the cause and effect of your reality. We expose mental diets, mental health, and a mental virus. We transmute old and inappropriate beliefs. We unpack how dangerous it is to give your children and their fertile minds away for others to cultivate. We share examples of how infectious life and death is, and explore how these seeds have either produced life or death in your garden of mind. I can only speak of what I know, and I only share the interpretation of my own experience, which means I may use stories of people that were or are in and around my life to portray a message that may resonate with you. So the characters in these stories, including myself, are only used as examples and are not to be judged or condemned. If at any point this book seems repetitive, it's because mentally we are performing the creative act, and this may require multiple penetrations. If you pay attention to the words in this book with the intention of already having received wisdom from them, there will be a return on your investment. First, we must prepare and condition the soil to make room for new life. In its completion, a seed of love and life will be planted within your fertile mind. Your false identities may not like this because the truth will tear away a lot of the myths, stories, and beliefs that have formed it. We have been unconsciously tending seeds in our garden that we have grown attached to, forgotten who planted them, when they were planted, and or what fruit they may bear. Being the conscious gardener of your own mind doesn't have to be hard or painful, but in cultivating new soil and preparing for new life, it may feel like work that is uncomfortable and unfamiliar. So if you have the courage to close your eyes to the old world and open your heart to the new world, planting only seeds of love and life, I promise you that the results are worth it. If you choose to continue reading, please know that these words are not intended to hurt, upset, or offend you. These words are only intended to love, heal, and remind you of what you intuitively already know. Thank you for your time and attention. Yours in reflection, Tony Rose. An intuitive reminding. I will start this conversation by reminding you that there is no bad news in the good news. It is now time to release all the stories of the world being a hostile place of evil, punishment, and torture. If I and my Father are one, and I am, then He is not up there, out there, somewhere, or elsewhere. God is unconditional love. That is your North Star, compass, and guidance system, which means anything you think, feel, or do outside of unconditional love would be denying yourself. God gives birth to God. You, the seed of God, in your own illusion of separation, are at a fork in the road of each moment. You have the privilege to either turn away and deny, or turn toward and accept unconditional love. You are God, here to experience yourself, and your only job is to let love rule. If you receive this message, know it in your heart and accept it as true. There is no need for us to continue this conversation. The journey begins when you say yes to it. Chapter 1. The Fertile Mind. The First Seed. What is the fertile mind? The fertile mind is the Garden of Eden and is ascribed to the harlot in Scripture. The harlot will lay with any man and give birth to any seed. The harlot's soil is unconditional and will always reap what you sow. The fertile mind is the soil for which you plant the seeds of your desire, and that soil must birth your seed into reality. The seeds that are planted into the fertile soil of mind are sprinkled throughout each story, embedded within each chapter, and are rooted within the entire Fertile Mind series. The fertile soil within the Garden of Mind can be likened to the soil of earth, the womb of a woman, and the brain within your heart. The fertile soil is unconditional. So when a seed is planted into the Garden of Mind, land, or woman, that seed must be birthed into your reality. Mother Earth, woman, and mind are the female symbolism of the fertile soil in which you plant the seeds of your desire and reap your harvest. They are the womb man. Man in different place, race, body, or creed, plant a kernel of corn and receive corn. The soil is unconditional, and the seed does not lie. Corn gives birth to corn. Tomatoes multiply tomatoes. Life gives birth to life. God multiplies God. Man in a different place, race, body, or creed, plant the seed of man in womb man and receive man. The soil is unconditional and the seed does not lie. God in a different place, race, body, or creed plants the seed of Christ within man, yet you continue to turn away and deny this truth because unconditional love gave you the privilege to do so. Throughout this entire series, I will remind and encourage you to only sow seeds of love and life. The whole vast world is only symbolism and the direct result of the seed and soil being in union. Union implies completion of the creative act. So if union is one, aren't we all one? When one and one perform the creative act, they multiply one and give birth to one. 1 times 1 equals 1. You seek because you want answers. If you seek, you shall find, but remember that whatever answers you seek, the answer is always within you. If you change the word answer to self, you would notice that you are always seeking the self. So why do you continue looking outward to find yourself, the answer? Let's note that seeking implies lack, which means you do not have that which you seek. You seek what you are and tend to do so outwardly, which means you will only ever find where you are, so you will never find that which you are. Teacher after teacher tell this universal truth in their own way, yet you must continue to remind yourself of this truth until you remember it. Remind yourself of this truth until you accept it, and then continue to remind yourself of this truth every time you catch yourself seeking outward for yourself, the answer again. As a chef must keep their knife sharp, your mind, beliefs, and principles must be kept sharp to avoid damaging yourself and the ingredients with all the extra force and effort it requires to prepare a meal with a blunt knife. Sooner or later, your hand, wrist, and grip strength will fatigue and will give way to a tool that was once appropriate but has now become inappropriate for the task. You could use the same knife as the analogy for duality, as through the same knife, life and death can be brought to one's experience. The same kitchen knife that can give life to a family by preparing their meal and bringing them together can bring death to a family by taking away their loved one and tearing them apart. The kitchen knife is neither good nor evil. It is only a tool, and you must harness every tool in an appropriate manner. Either choice has consequences that you must live with, so I can only suggest that you always use tools in a way that is loving to all. Your imagination is neither good nor evil. It is only your most wonderful tool, and you can use it in an appropriate or inappropriate way. Either choice has consequences that you must live with, so I can only suggest that you always imagine that which is loving to all. The answer is always the self. Your self, and you will never find yourself out there, somewhere and elsewhere. You may be a seeker of truth, but you are only seeking your own reflection, because that truth is self. So I ask you, why look out there, somewhere and elsewhere to find yourself? Who is the self? What is the answer? Who is the answer? I am. Who says I am? On a shallow level, each individual that claims to be who they are. All these illusory individuals are God. On a shallow level, we all claim to be who we are, because on a deep level, we all are. This truth may frustrate you, as you have been encouraged since birth through TV, books, music, friends, family, or schooling to believe that you aren't who you are, that you must be quote-unquote good, work hard, and put a ton of effort into seeking, achieving, and or receiving the kingdom that is apparently outside of you. The seeds that have been planted into your fertile mind want to birth into your experience as being someone or something, so that you can claim quote-unquote the end prize of being who you are. But why must I wait until the end to be who I am? Who am I? I am. I am that I am. I am the answer. But when you distill the truth into a simple and digestible formula, you question and deny it. You do so because you think there's no way the truth could be so plain and simple. The closer to the truth we get, the simpler it is. The simpler the truth is, the more likely that it is ignored, denied, and or ridiculed. One can never be separated. We are not 2, 3, or 4, separate and alone, a meek twig on the floor. Life is not a chore. All of your treasures are within your heart, and you must only open the door. An apple tree only needs to be an apple tree. But what does an apple tree have to be before being an apple tree? An apple seed. The apple seed contains within it the whole vast world, and within the whole vast world is the whole vast world. If you cut open an apple, you may notice that there is a perfect star of sacred geometry. The apple houses around 5 or 6 apple seeds. If you use your material senses, your common senses, to create and confirm your reality, you may say that there are only 5 or 6 apple seeds in total. But if you go beyond your material senses, you will know that these 5 or 6 apple seeds contain an infinite number of seeds within them. Each apple seed produces an infinite number of apples, and within each of those apples are again the seed that contain the whole vast world. This means a seed of any kind contains worlds within worlds. A seed is a symbolism of life. That symbolism implies an infinite cycle of life, which means you are the seed of God. In fact, the apple is a symbolism of man, a torus field of energy with the seed of the whole vast world at its core. When I say man, I don't speak of a specific gender or race. I speak of human, mankind. A torus field of energy is the heart's magnetic field. It is the strongest rhythmic field produced by the human body. To give you a visual aid, you will see the quite obviously hand-drawn picture in the attached PDF file. As you may already notice, the torus field resembles an apple. I have added the stem and leaf for extra flavor. It would be wise to notice that this torus field could also resemble a limitation or prison. The only difference is your view and perspective of your world. We will dive into this in our mental seal, what we think and how we feel. Since the seed of the apple is at the core, the entire apple would be the seed's magnetic torus field. If at the core of the apple is the seed of life, at the core of man is the seed of life, and that seed would be your heart. Within man is the seed of life. Within apple is the seed of life. Both seeds of life generate a magnetic torus field of energy around them. Man and apple, the biblical story and relationship that man has misinterpreted, manipulated, and demonized. You may start to notice that there are a lot of similarities and symbolisms between man and apple. You may notice that you have been judging and condemning yourself because of the manipulated story of a man, woman, snake, and an apple in a garden many, many years ago. We will dive into this in The Rainbow Serpent, Your True Identity. The seed of life is your heart, and your heart generates and gives life to the whole vast world. Your heart gives life to the world through an infinite supply of life, because life produces life, which means the seed of life produces the seed of life. That seed of life is you, gives life to you, and will continue to birth you. On a material level, within womb man is the fertile soil to produce the seed of life, and that fertile soil, environment, is unconditional. On a material level, within man, is the power to produce seed, and that seed, desire, is unconditional. Man and womb man, they both produce seed. One produces the seed, and the other produces the environment to house that seed. They are both required to birth the seed into reality. On a shallow and external level, the individual male and female counterparts are the seed and soil, but on a deep and internal level, the seed and soil are your mind and heart. On a material level, they are male and female, two quote-unquote separate bodies, but on a spiritual level, they are not separate people or genders. They are one. It is man and womb man in union. They are the masculine and feminine counterparts of yourself, the right and left brain, the conscious and subconscious, the seed and soil, the yin and yang, the sun and moon, man and woman, or any other analogy that we tend to use, are all symbolism. You can distill all of them into the mind and heart, the Father and Son. Spiritually, you are man and womb man in union, regardless of your material costume or gender. Within you is the power to produce seed, and the environment to house it simultaneously. If you have a mind, man, and you have a heart, womb, man, you cannot deny this truth. Throughout the entire first collection of seeds, we dive a little deeper and receive more examples of this. But for now, let's carry on, because life begets life, apples beget apples, and God begets God. This is all symbolism. Personally, the more I see, understand, and experience the symbolism, the more fun I have being able to play this game. This is why I love to share, unpack, and interpret the symbolisms. They have the power to release tension in your body, mind, and heart, with the gentle reminder to enjoy playing this game through what you intuitively already know. You are obviously not the apple, but the apple is a symbolism of who and what you are. The seed of life from the tree of life, generating a magnetic torus field around you. If you are wearing a garment of flesh, then you are not the seed of an apple, you are the seed of God. Contrary to popular belief, man doesn't play God, God plays man. Have you heard of the expression, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree? Even if that statement was incorrect, and the apple chose to run, roll, turn away, deny, and lie that they are an apple, buried deep within them is the truth, and that truth is the seed of an apple. Why would apples choose to deny who they are? Because of the seeds that we planted into their fertile mind. The same is for the child of God. You can pretend, lie, and deny all you want, but no matter what you do or say, buried deep within you is the truth, and that truth is the seed of God. Why would children deny who they are? Because of the seeds that were planted into their fertile mind. If God is the tree of life, you are the root, the leaves, and the fruit. If God is the tree of life, you are the seed of the tree of life. If you plant a seed from the tree of life into the fertile soil, it will be birthed into reality as the same tree of life. An acorn does not produce a corn. An acorn produces an oak tree. You can manipulate the words, interpretations, and stories, but the seed can never lie. On a material plane, you were planted into the fertile soil when, quote unquote, sent down to heaven on earth. You may believe the allegory of being planted into the nurturing and fertile soil of earth after being, quote unquote, sent down from heaven, and you would be correct. Why would you believe this allegory? Because of the seeds that were planted into your fertile mind. You may believe the allegory of being planted into the hostile and infertile soil of earth after being, quote unquote, cast down to hell on earth, and you too are correct. Why would you believe this allegory? Because of the seeds that were planted into your fertile mind. The seeds you choose to nourish, tend, and give life to are the only difference. Why would you be correct in both assumptions? Because what you believe, you make be alive. Assumptions, though false, harden into fact. The seed and soil are unconditional. The Garden of Eden will reap the harvest for what its gardener chooses to sow or allows to grow. You will always receive what you believe. Take inventory of your beliefs, because they may have been a seed brought to your fertile mind through the winds of the open world. You were planted into the fertile soil on two levels, the natural and the spiritual level. Your physical manifestation through your mother and into your Mother Earth are proof that you are the seed of life. What the seed of life chooses to mature into is another story, and that story will continue to unfold throughout the entire journey. You may notice and/or experience the wonder of sacred geometry in every detail of your existence, yet you may still have reservations about how perfect you are. Especially if you are part of a quote-unquote spiritual community, you may still think and believe that there is something wrong and broken with you and the world that you live in. Why would you choose to believe this story? Because of the seeds that were planted into your fertile mind. Where did those seeds come from? Someone or something in your everyday life, on TV, the internet, in a book, or through song. Why were those seeds accepted? Because there was a documentary, studies, research, or even reenactments of quote-unquote history. Because there were lights, cameras, and a production crew. A company created, advertised, and shared a film of how broken, dirty, and rotten you apparently are. Because of all the stories of lack of this or that in the world that you live in. Because someone or something confirmed the junk that they affirmed. Because it's been fueled with advertising spend and a marketing budget to encourage people to buy something, somewhere, from someone. You may wonder why I put quotations around the phrase quote-unquote spiritual community. The answer is because the quote-unquote spiritual community isn't some section of the population that uses trending topics and hot words like manifest, meditate, and the law of attraction to compete for your time and attention. I put quotations around that phrase because the entire population is a spiritual community, irrespective of if we remember, accept, or know this truth. One did not send you here to be punished, tortured, and enslaved. So why might you still choose to accept, believe, and regurgitate this ridiculous and deceptive story? Because of the seeds that were planted into your fertile mind. The thing about stories is that if they're not accepted as true, they mean nothing and do nothing. The story you tell your child as they fall asleep at night does nothing unless they accept this story as true. Which means the stories that you have been fed don't have the power to control or manipulate you unless you accept them as true. Since your taught knowledge has misguided you and turned you away to deny your true power, for years you may have believed the opposite of what is true. A good place to start is by reversing everything that you have been taught. God is out there? God is in here. The world is an evil and hostile place. The world is a loving and nurturing place. We are separate people, races, and religions. We are one. The sender and the sent are one. So, if you believe the story of his son being sent down to heaven on earth, then the sender sent himself down to heaven on earth. If you believe the story of his son being cast down to hell, then the sender cast himself down to hell. Why would you believe either story? Because of the seeds that were planted into your fertile mind. The sender and the sent wrote these words. The sender and the sent is reading these words. So the sender and the sent will either choose to accept or deny these words. If the sender and the sent were separate people, it would have been appropriate to use the verb are in relation to who's reading these words. Does quote unquote I am sound like I am talking about one person or two? Does it sound like I am talking about myself or another? Why would you believe anything other than I am that I am? Because of the seeds that were planted into your fertile mind. Some choose to believe both stories of being sent and being cast. Some choose to believe that there are three different people in that story: God, devil, and you, the peasant. Yet it is your taught knowledge that has encouraged you to only claim to be the peasant that was cast down here to be punished and tortured. The question is, why do you accept information without question? Because of the seeds that were planted into your fertile mind. You have been conditioned since birth to never challenge what you've been told, never challenge what is right or wrong, and never challenge what is appropriate or inappropriate. Why would one punish himself? If you knew that you sent or quote unquote slowed yourself down into this material level, you would remember that you didn't send or quote unquote slow yourself down here to be punished, tortured, and enslaved. So why would you believe that you were? Because of the seeds that were planted into your fertile mind. If you take these stories by the literal word and assume they are three separate people, all three of them were, are, and or will be punished, tortured, and enslaved. If I and my Father are one, do you think I would punish myself? If one is one, why do you believe there are three people in that story? Because of the seeds that were planted into your fertile mind. Somehow we divided one into three through either denial, misinterpretation, or manipulation. You might even believe there are four people in this story: God, Jesus, Satan, and your simple meek self. Why would you believe there are 4 people in this story? Because of the seeds that were planted into your fertile mind. If you and your Father are one, are you not one? Are you a separate one? Can you separate one? On a natural level, you would say, yes, you are separate ones, because you have your own unique expression to expand one. Your common senses deceive you into thinking that you are separate, but you also believe that you see with your eyes rather than through your eyes. So can you trust what you think you know? Why would you believe that you see with your eyes rather than through them? Because of the seeds that were planted into your fertile mind. When you close your eyes, do you no longer see? When you close your eyes, have you only closed the shutters on your windows? Are you not seeing the closed shutters in your vision? Who is the one that can now see those shutters? Who is the one that has always been aware of all that is proceeding? Your awareness of being. I am. It's okay, because there is only good news. A gardener that plants and grows produce from seed must label his seedlings and mark the area, maximizing the space and keeping record of what he planted and when. Without such diligence, the gardener could be at risk of digging up or planting something else in its place. He would then have to wait until the plant, tree, or vegetable is mature enough to recognize. The same occurs when you plant seeds into your heart with your mind. The soil is unconditional and the seed will mature. If you are unconscious in your planting or are allowing the environment to plant seeds of that which you do not desire, want to consume, or tend to, rest assured that you will be met with your harvest in His own divine time. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3. The vision has its own appointed hour. It ripens, it will flower. If it be long, then wait, for it is sure and it will not be late. This was the first chapter of The Fertile Mind, the first collection of seeds. You have been listening to Tony Rose, and I want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for your time and attention. Yours in reflection, Tony Rose.
He's one of the best scientific minds we have today.